Hey everybody, it's Bunnell, your host here at Real Relationships, Real Revenue, and I'm having a blast. I recorded 5 episodes with Kevin Clem. Cam is Chief Commercial Officer at HBR Consulting. They do all kinds of very complicated law firm and legal department outsourcing and consulting, real deep technical experts. And they use our system and they're growing like crazy. Amazing people. I've met a lot of them and they just do amazing work. Anyway, Kevin, in this episode, we had a blast with all 5, some of my favorite ever. But in this episode, we talk about the moment he realized that growth is great, that business development is important. Specifically for you, we dig really deep into how to think about and prepare for a first time meeting. And what do you do afterwards? And to build trust, to be helpful, and all kinds of things like that. And we get into a lot of practical details that I think you're really going to enjoy. And we laugh a little bit. We laugh a lot along the way. Kevin's a hoot. So that's what you're going to get in this episode. Before we dig in, know that our big promo in season 3 is the high impact relationship deepeners. It's a mouthful. That's the thought piece that we've put together for you. And it's got 7 ways that you can deepen relationships in 5 minutes or less. So if you're starved for time and you've got to deepen relationships, go to growbigplaybook.com. That's where you can download the thought piece, the white paper. Growbigplaybook.com is where you go for that. Okay, here's Kevin Clem. We're having a blast talking about the moment he realized that business development is important, and you're going to love the way he approaches first-time client meetings or prospect meetings, and what does he do to follow up afterwards. Really good stuff coming your way right now. Hey everybody, it's Bunnell, your host here at Real Relationships, Real Revenue. And man, I'm excited about this particular episode because when I met Kevin Clem the first time, I think my laughs per minute on a call or my laughs per hour were at the highest level I've ever been at. Kevin, you had a way of like, I don't even know. I don't remember the call. I don't even remember what we talked about. I think somebody just introduced us, maybe Jeff, a mutual friend. I don't know. But I just remember laughing a lot and learning. So everybody, I'm super excited to have Kevin, on the show because we're going to laugh a lot. We're going to learn a lot. All right, Kevin Clem, I want to know from you, when was the moment that you realized growth is great, that you wanted to focus on business development?
Yeah, so it's funny, I guess I've been in business development for 20 something years now, even though I wouldn't have called it that. One of the things in my new role, overseeing a lot of our business development and marketing efforts, is that I say whether you're a consultant or you're focused on client delivery, you think you may not be in sales, we're all responsible for revenue generation, and that recognition that what I do every day, even if I'm laying the bricks for a project, so to speak, we're all still helping to grow, build that cathedral, to use the overused expression. So for me personally, it was actually when a client said something to the effect of, "You've done a lot of great work for us and you continue to do it. And I keep coming to you, but I never feel like I'm being sold." And so for me, it was kind of a revelation that, I feel like I maybe have a knack for this. I try to connect with people. I try to smile and, as you said, find some points of commonality to make something fun. And so for me, it was kind of a natural progression. I spent 20 years actually doing client service delivery. I wasn't formally in a sales capacity role.
Yep.
And so it was almost, hearing from clients, like, you're selling me, but I don't feel sold. And just the continued growth of our people and of our client base. And at one point, our CEO said, "Well, would you like to make this more of a formal role?" And I was managing a large team at the time, and he said, "Let's get you out engaging with the clients even more directly." So it was kind of a natural progression, but it was, again, that story of a client saying, I want to buy from you, and I don't know why, but I don't feel like you're selling me. I feel like it's authentic, it's genuine, there's a connection there. So for me, it's really been about business development as how can I help solve their problems, and whether that's something that we at HBR can do for them, or there's an introduction I can make to somebody else, or I can send them a piece of collateral that's meaningful, whether an insight or an invite to an event, some way that I can provide value. And so there wasn't a particular moment, but I think just over the course of these last several years in delivery and the ability to make those connections with folks, that teed me up for what's been a successful transition into a more formal client development and marketing role.
Well, and I see it in you. Like you have a passion for growth, not as much a and I want to say this really clearly, not as much a passion just to drive growth, although I know you do. You have a passion to help people
Yeah.
and help them grow. That's sort of where I was going with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's fun for me. It's the relationships are fun. I love forming some kind of common thing that we can go back to. I'll often text with clients that have become friends we're texting about the Dodgers. I'm a big Dodger fan, so I have a client who's a big Giants fan, so we go back and forth on that. I have another client where we talk about hockey, and another one that's talking about their kids or about what's going on in their lives, and just finding ways to form that connection, because that's how relationships grow. And as your podcast points out, I think as relationships grow, revenue follows.
So let's actually go down that road a little bit. So one of the things you're particularly good at, and I've experienced it on my side, is like I feel like I've known you for 10 years and it's been like one or something, whatever it is. It's not as long as it seems, right? It's like a 10x. Yep. You have it's the Kevin Clem 10x factor of relationships. You can write the book.
Just talk to my wife. She feels like she's been married to me for 220 years, to your point. We just celebrated 22, so she feels like it's been 220. So you're right, Mo. Yeah, the 10x factor for sure.
That's right. We're going to pull her in. We're going to get her view on this. How does he do it? At some point it's actually too much, right? But so how do you think about that relationship side? Let me say it this way. A lot of our clientele has a lot of analytical thinking. You know what I mean by that? Yeah, totally. And they can almost over-index to being perfect and only talking about professional things and not non-professional things. But you have a great way of helping somebody no matter what, helping on the professional side, helping on the non-professional side. How do you just let's double click on this. How do you think about it when you meet somebody? You're trying to find ways to follow up. What's the Kevin Clem 10x method?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's some of it is organic, but I don't want to understate the analysis that goes into it. So growing up, I was a shy kid. No one will believe this, but I was pretty shy. I was the math nerd. I was doing all in math club and kind of got into middle school and started to emerge from that shell. But I've always kind of had a desire for the details, analytical thinker. So I do a lot of research. So before I meet somebody, I go to the great encyclopedia in the sky called LinkedIn. I'll use Google a little bit, but I'll try to find something that might be a point of connection to go beyond a business transactional relationship and talk about their alma mater or talk about something that they're involved in their volunteer area. So for me, it's finding connection with somebody, and that doesn't take a ton of time. I mean, people put a lot of information out on their LinkedIn profile about what they're liking, what they're posting, the groups they're following, the companies they're interested in. So I tend to do a little bit of research ahead of time so that when we do have that connection, I find a way to pepper that in, not in a manipulative way, but as it naturally comes up, or I pay attention to their backgrounds. And I mean, I think, Mo, one of our first calls, I noticed your Viking hat. So I asked about that, and that went down a path about ultimate Frisbee. And so then when I was out playing Frisbee with my kids, a couple weeks later, I sent you a picture of my Ultra Star, my Discraft Ultra Star, and said, is this the right one? And anyway, just paying attention, doing some research ahead of time. And then I would say just finding points of connection. I've been very fortunate to have had a very dynamic upbringing, lived overseas, gone to school on the West Coast, on the East Coast. So I tend to have different points to find connection with people because I've done so much in my life, just happenstance. And therefore, there's a way to find some connection that is authentic and genuine. And I think that's the foundation of all good relationships, is some kind of connection where you can either align with somebody or build on some relationship that they have and take it to the next level by something that you've experienced as well.
Yes, I love this. So I'm going to go deeper because I'm putting my mind putting myself in the shoes of the perspective of a lot of our clients, and they're watching right now. They're like, yeah, but Kevin, you just seem so outgoing. It would be natural for you, but for me, I couldn't do that. I don't want to feel like a naggy stalker.
Sure.
Like I check somebody out on LinkedIn. So help us get those people over that. So get really specific, Kevin, and this might be one of those unconscious competent things that you don't even realize what you do.
Sure.
But I'm going to drop you into a situation. You did your research. You found that you have 2 or 3 things in common with somebody else based on LinkedIn, right? You can maybe you can think of a time this happened recently. How specifically, role play with me right now, how specifically do you bring that up so that people don't feel like you're a weird stalker?
Yeah. So I try to get them talking first. So let them start to tell a story. And so I'm kind of an amen man or a yes and. So as opposed to saying, I know that you went to school at this particular place at Dayton. No, not Dayton. I should know this, Mo. Remind me. It's Ball State. Ball State. Yep. So hey, you and David Letterman, those Ball State alums, right? Some little fun. So it's not just I did my research, therefore I know you went to Ball State, but something about Ball State. But ideally, we get you talking, and then as you start to share your perspective, the challenge you're trying to solve. Just kind of having those little things in the back of the head to kind of pepper in as opposed to come on strong from the beginning. So for me, it's more of just where does it feel natural? And it may not even be the individual person. It could be their company. So, if I'm going to meet with a law firm or a corporate law department, just pull up their website and see what's new, what's happening, what's recent. So, because more often than not, what's top of mind or what they'll talk about is what's been happening recently at their company or them individually. So it's having a couple of those little points. It's not, going in with Ball State. I'm going to mention Ball State no matter what. It's what are the things that I'm aware of? What's going on with Big right now? What is in Mo's business? What's in his personal life that I might be able to kind of layer into that? Again, not manipulatively, but just in an authentic way to say, what might tack on to something that they're already saying and be a demonstration that we understand their company or their firm or them individually to form that point of connection.
Yeah, totally. And I think from the recipient side, and I've been Kevin Clem to 10X method myself, it feels great. So I just want to say it to everybody else, like the way that you can do this is not to be I was sort of having fun with the whole weirdo stalker thing, but I wanted to say it really with sort of point blank because some people were thinking that, so we got that off the table.
There you go.
But the way you can do this, and with the way Kevin's talking about now, talking to a whole audience here, is to just do it naturally. Yeah. So, like you said, Kevin, if you do some research on somebody, in general, the higher up somebody is in an organization, the more likely they're online somewhere, right? They wrote an article or they give a speech recently at a conference or they write a thought piece or whatever. There's something out there. I mean, if nothing else,
point of connection. Some point of connection that you can make to that. I was recounting to a team of our client development team yesterday, in fact, about how when there are candidates that are interviewing to join HBR, so either whether it's campus interviews, people coming out of undergrad or others that are lateral hires, we often will say when we're talking about a candidate that we interview, oh, they did their homework. They looked at our website. They mentioned a recent article. And that gives us a sense of, oh, we want to hire them to join our company. It's no different that when you're because we're essentially interviewing in business development, we're often interviewing to get a job, quote unquote. And if we've done our homework, I essentially said to the team, like, it's not weird. It's not, it doesn't take that much time. And they shouldn't feel like you're stalking them if you just do a little bit of homework about their company and find a way to pepper that in thoughtfully, organically, authentically, and it differentiates you. It doesn't take that much time, and it can really differentiate you by just doing the work about them as opposed to being ready to talk about yourself.
Bingo. So let me give a pro ninja tip, and then I'm going to quickly pivot because I want you to I want to ask you another question. Pro ninja tip to the audience. One really easy way to do it, Kevin just mentioned, is make it the prefix in front of a question. So, hey, you can even say it, I was doing my research before this call, and I noticed that you wrote a thought piece on blank. I really liked what you said in page 3, but I had a follow-up question. So you're just dropping in this, I did my research, and then it informed a very detailed question. That is flattering to the other side.
People love to talk about what stuff they did because a lot of times I'm the same way. I'll write a multi-page blog post or something, and you feel like nobody's reading this. So to have someone have read it and then ask a thoughtful question, talk about rewarding for the time you put into that piece of thought leadership that you thought went out into the ether and never got looked at. How rewarding is that for an individual? And frankly, that then encourages them to continue to share their knowledge, which is how we all grow.
Yeah, and it's a whole lot better than the question, hey, I just wondered what's keeping you up at night.
Totally. Classic trite. Right.
So
what are your top priorities that we're focusing on in 2022? Well, what is everybody else focusing on? Look, we're going through the same thing. Yeah, a little personal touch goes a long way.
Exactly. Okay, so here's the last big meaty question for this episode. So one thing I've noticed about you, Kevin, that you're really, really good at is not just the finding the commonalities. And we know through research that commonality highly correlates to likability. You've got a very high likability factor because of this commonality. But it's true. It's well, yeah. I'll go on. So you find them, but what you also do, Kevin, that not many people do is you follow up on those commonalities. The Frisbee example you gave, I remember it distinctly. I'm sitting on my couch or watching a game with my wife or whatever. I get a text, it's from you, and you're like, and it's a photo of you, throwing the discraft with your son, whatever it was. But I remember, oh man, that's cool, So you also do follow up. So I know there's a method to your madness. I've never asked you, how do you make sure you're following up in the couple weeks after you meet somebody?
Yeah, it's a plain old. I mean, this is boring, but here, this is. It's a simple jot a note down in the moment. They move from. So I got 3 columns. I have the left column is what's essentially urgent and important happening immediately. The middle column is the follow-ups I need to do, and then the third column is what are the specific points that were raised. So essentially, there's a row that's like, okay, meeting with Mo. Follow-up is I'm going to send him a note afterwards, and then what is the other little connection point? So what was something that came up in that conversation that if and when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to circle back to. So it's not that every single one has a personal photo of me throwing a Frisbee or a picture of me wearing a Dodger hat, but at least I know when that thing surfaces in life, because stuff comes up in life that's just natural. And for me, I'm a big, let's capture it with a picture. I like to take photos and send them around, or a quick text, or an emoji or something. So it's just grabbing a quick note, and it's not, taking a long list of. I mean, I try to have follow-up notes, but it's really just one row in this 3-column list that I maintain of got to do it. When I do it, what's my follow-up, and then what's the other little, if there is a personal connection, because in COVID times, people talk about what's going on in their world. There's a client that she and I somehow we got on the topic of travel baseball and our kids. And my son had just hurt his elbow, and so she followed up the next time, how's your son doing? And I asked about her son, and so now this has become a common thing that we just continue to engage in. So I was out of practice, and it was a beautiful sunset. I snapped a picture and said, this was back in the winter time, and she's in Indiana. It wasn't exactly San Diego weather. I was in San Diego. She was a cold part of the country. So I said, baseball in Indiana is a little different than baseball in San Diego in January. So just those little things where as it surfaces in life, when I think of a Frisbee, I think of you, Mo. When I think of a Viking hat, I think of you. So just those things that form connection points, not super prescriptive, almost just as they happen in life. I either take a picture, I send it a quick text, but it's my list. It's my handy dandy notebook. Nothing super formal, but it's a quick list to keep track of whom I'm following up with. And then as life happens and points of connection occur, just a quick note to show you care.
I just love it. And I think I knew there was a system behind there. It's almost like you're creating your own great luck because you're thinking of if this happens, I'll do that. And you're finding, I love it. All right. So Kevin, where should people go if they want to connect with you? I think they might want to say thank you for the episode. Maybe they want to learn more about what you do at HBR Consulting. Where should they go?
Yeah, so obviously HBR Consulting, our website's got a lot of good content about me individually. I'm big into LinkedIn, so grab me on LinkedIn. It's just, Kevin. I'm one of the few Kevin Clems I think that is 6'4" and redheaded, so left-handed and also born overseas. I think we're narrowing it to like 1 in a billion. So no, just look me up, Kevin Clem on LinkedIn. You can find me there. We try to post good content there and try to have some fun with different types of pictures and videos. And so even if you don't want to talk about professional stuff, there's some fun Vegas Elvis clips and all kinds of fun stuff that we post out there as well. So I try to lean into the fun stewardship mentality. So yeah, LinkedIn would be the place to go.
I love it. Well, we'll put the right URL in the show notes too. So if everybody
right down here
right now, right down here, click.
Smash that like button. Yeah, smash that subscribe button. I'm trying to learn from my kids who are like YouTube. They want to be YouTube influencers when they grow up. So smash that like button.
Well, I'll say it right now, everybody. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and turn on those notifications.
There you go. Ding, ding. Love it.
Yeah, because we've got 4 more episodes coming up with the great Kevin Clem, and we're going to now debut the Kevin Clem 10X relationship methodology.
Love it.
That?
Okay.
Sounds great, Mo. All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for being on the show.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Mo. Talk soon.